Listen, I'll give the playoff defenders this one. As much as I still do not like the system on principle, it certainly gave us one heck of a finish. And the Southern 500 also gave us one heck of a finish. We have to remember that for all the discussion about the playoffs, all the discussion about those implications, this was a crown jewel. And Chase Briscoe, in a year where Stewart-Haas Racing announced that they're shutting down, they have not had the performance that we came to expect from them when the boss man, Tony Stewart, was in that car, especially. He straight up outdueled Kyle Busch, one of the best in the business, although he has not had a year, but he wanted either. He missed out on the playoffs for the first time in over a decade, but he outdueled him just as he did at this track in the Xfinity Series 4 years ago. A highly emotional victory. Jackson, again, I'll go to you first. What were your thoughts watching that finish and watching NBC's nonstop coverage of Kyle Busch's onboard? Does it look like he was closing the gap and then Briscoe would pull away right a little bit? Just thrilling stuff.
We're going to talk about the Xfinity repeat a couple times tonight, I feel like. But, I mean, if you're sitting in in SHR's garage knowing that you're running out of sand in the hourglass for that entire operation, this is literally, this could quite possibly be the last time we ever see a Stewart-Haas car in victory lane. And I think to even get that to happen, it's so special for this entire team to make that happen. And I can only imagine what the emotions are for the 300 and something people right now that had to watch that last night, knowing that they're still going to be out of a job in a couple months. But it's easily one of the best storylines of this year right now. And I again, Ben, I know as much as you are against the playoffs, there were a couple of storylines here that really did go in the playoffs way, and this was for sure one of them.
Yeah, there's something special about Darlington, guys, that I might eat my words in the next few years. I don't know, but there's something about Darlington that the playoffs can't touch it. I mean, that track races like no other place and sets us up for something exciting, long-term, long green flag running and wearing down on the tires, the sandpaper that is that track. It always puts on something spectacular. And my goodness, did we get something spectacular last night? Chase Briscoe, you already said it. Stewart-Haas, what they don't know what the future's going to hold here at the end of this year, but man, that's a feel good story there. And Kyle Busch also, even with a P2 finish, he was going as hard as he could. Chase Briscoe outdueled him fair and square. And I was saying on Slack last night, I think I was getting overly excited, but it was like, man, Briscoe was just glued to the wall. And that's how you have to be at Darlington to get the extra oomph out of it. But, man, just any bit closer on that wall.
It would have been over.
It would have been over. Yeah. And Kyle Busch would have had the advantage. I don't know how he held that wheel, but he is a race car driver, buddy. He's one of the best because he's able to win at the track too tough to tame.
You know, I thought for sure when Kyle Busch made those couple of quick passes on the restart with those slightly fresher tires, even though it was just, 3 or 4 laps, I think, to your point, Brandon, about how quickly the tires age here. I mean, we saw, even if it was a caution just after 3 green flag laps, almost everybody was coming into the pits because they knew that was their only hope. It was Ross Chastain's only hope to stay out on 9-lap old tires, and he actually, credit to him, got a much better restart than I think anybody was expecting there, but that shuffled up the order a little bit. But he was pulling a Hail Mary to do what he had to do to make the playoffs. But I think that I come away from this with the same reaction that I had when Harrison Burton won last week. And this is such a great story, regardless of what it does for the playoff picture. To have Harrison Burton win with Jeff Burton in the booth and the lowest ranked car in the point standings, lowest ranked full-time driver, I should say, in the driver's point standings, at least, winning at Daytona of all places for his first career win, the Wood Brothers 100. So many great storylines before you even mention the fact that it locks him into the playoffs. And similarly with Chase Briscoe this week, this is a crown jewel race at one of the most historic tracks on the NASCAR calendar. And Kyle Petty, who was back on the NBC coverage this weekend, mentioned during the pre-race show that, some people would perhaps consider the Southern 500. I think it was Kyle Petty. It might have been Dale Jarrett as well now that I think about it. But I think both of them, obviously very rich family legacy and history in this sport. But I think both of them would probably tell you at least that, this race, if there's any race that rivals the Daytona 500 in terms of prestige and in terms of difficulty to win, then it's certainly the Southern 500 here. So to be able to do that and hold off one of the best in the business in Kyle Busch, very, very special stuff.
As someone who's an outsider to Cup, both you gentlemen would put this above the Coke 600?
I would.
I think so.
Nowadays, I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with where it's at right now. I mean, as obviously it doesn't need that its place on the schedule right now to hold its prestige, but it's clearly, I mean, it's one of the crown jewels for a reason.
Yeah. And Kyle Kyle Petty, speaking so good about it, is coming from the same guy that wishes that the place was turned into a bass tournament fishing pond whenever he was racing because he couldn't figure it out. There's just some drivers that just can't figure it out and hate every time they go there. I think of Chase Elliott last night. He was just ready to move on.